Hello everyone, welcome to Tutorials by Decade. My name is Decade, and in this video we are going to work on our rooms a little bit, adding a camera to a room or to our second room and having it transition. With that being said, off camera I finished up the little room here, and I actually made a second little room up here, and I ran into a unique problem that I want to go over with you real fast. But before I do that, make sure you like this video at the end of it. Those likes really do help me out. And speaking of help me out, and helping yourself out for that matter, don't forget to subscribe, as I have videos like this coming out all the time, and I don't want you to miss anything. And yes, it does help me out, and I do appreciate it. So with that out of the way, let's get to it. So when making this room, I decided to make this little cliff with a little entrance here. Now, for those of you that followed along with the room making and tile mapping, all of this I did off camera. I actually did this about 5 minutes before I started recording this. I suggest you get at least one house somewhere that looks just like this one, and one cave somewhere that looks just like this one. We will be using those in later videos, so you might as well just get them in there for now. It's okay if they're on the collision layer for now. It's not a big deal. But the unique issue that I was coming across is these cliffs, if you zoom in on the sprite sheet, they actually have some shadows. But if you try to put a shadow in there, you'll notice the grass disappears. Like if I do that, shadow's there, but the grass disappears. So what you need to do to get around that is we need to create a new tile map from, let's just do it up here. So right click and then go to 2D object, tile map, rectangular, and we'll just call this one ground 2. And we'll just slide that right there. And now while on ground 2, we'll be able to put that in there, but notice how, again, it's underneath because you can see the orange line, but you don't actually see it. We just need to make sure, okay, so sorting layer, we already changed that. So we'll change that to the ground sorting layer, and we'll change that to 1. That should do it, yeah. There we go. So now that that's out of the way, I can get the shadow for the rest of this. So that way it looks the way it's supposed to. There we go, and that one's actually a combination of that and that. And then these ones you're really not going to see, but it doesn't matter. I'll still put them here. There we go. All right. So with a second room down, what we need to do is a few things. Now I've already added the bounds in here, no big deal. But I didn't add the polygon collider, so I'm going to do that real fast. Add that. Polygon collider, points. Only 4 points, and I remember those points are negative 25 and 15, negative 25, 45, 25, 45, and 25, 15. So now that we have all of that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our room 1 camera, and we're just going to hold in Control D to duplicate it. And we're just going to drag it, drop it in the room 1. We're going to rename that here. So we'll rename that 0, 1 camera. And then down here, the bounding shape, we're going to switch that to room 1. And there we go. So now what we need to do is create a script for the room. So we're going to go to our scripts folder. And we're going to right click, create new folder, and just type in world. And then we're going to go into that folder. We're going to right click, create mono behavior script. And we're going to name that room. Once Unity is done compiling and doing all the things that it needs to do, we are actually going to open that up. I did not have my Visual Studio open, so It's going to take a few seconds for that to pop up. And there we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of all of this. And we're going to future-proof ourselves a little bit by doing a couple things in the script. So first we're going to do a header, and we're just going to put room information. Then we're going to do a tooltip. We'll get the text area in a minute here. Tooltip. And the name of the room. Then we're going to serialize the field, which it already kind of wants me to do that. Then we're going to do a private string room name. So what we're going to do with the room name, we can have it so that way every room, the name will pop up. But for now, we're just doing this for simplicity, so that way we know that we're putting things in the right place. But speaking of things popping up, later we're going to add a message to the room. So we're going to get ahead of that and serialize the field. Now, I said earlier, because my thing auto-corrected to text area, what we're going to do is we're going to add a text area, 3, 10. So what that's going to do is in the inspector, let me get back over to Unity here. Oh, I opened up the wrong Unity. So in the inspector over on the right-hand side, you see how like there's little checkboxes for bowls, or there's all these different things. Like let's go to the player. We really didn't add anything here, but like say movement speed here. See how there's only one line of text that you can put in here? Like if we were actually going to type in text here. Well, adding that text area, so 3, the first number, is how many lines of text minimum show up here. And then the second number, 10, is how many you can expand it to. We normally don't need more than, say, 2 lines of text, but it's good to have that just in case. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. All right, now, private string room message. And then we're going to add a tooltip here that says, should the message be shown? Then we're going to serialize that field, and then it's going to be a private bool show message. And we're going to default that to false because we do not want every room to show a message. And then lastly, we're going to do another tooltip here. Is the room the starting room? And then serialize that field, and then another private bool starting room, and then we're going to default that to false. Now we're going to add in a header, room objects, the tooltip, the room's camera, serialize the field, private game object room camera. So the idea of all this is a room name. We can, in the future, we're not going to do that in this video, but in the future we can have the room name pop up the second the player enters the room. Same with a room message if we want. Right now we're going to default the room message to false, to not show up, because we haven't done really much with UI yet, but we will get to that soon. Is this the starting room? So you want to have the starting room set up to true on certain things. Obviously your starting room, but you want it to be false for others, because the idea is we are going to have a camera in every room. And we want the starting room camera to obviously start on, and we want all the other room cameras to shut off. So yeah, we want to default that to false, but we'll change that in Unity for the first room. So speaking of that, what we're going to do is a private void start, and then we're going to do if starting room. See how that puts that there. You could technically do that, but I'm not a fan of that. Add the other bracket there. There we go. So if the room is the starting room, we're going to return because we are not going to do anything. Else, in other words, if it's not the starting room, we're going to do room camera dot set active to false. So any room that is not the starting room, the camera should shut off. And there's more stuff that we could do here, but for right now, we're just working on getting the second room set up and the camera system set up. So for now, we're just going to leave that as is. So now we're going to deal with trigger enters and trigger exits. If you've watched my older videos, you should know what these are, or if you've done anything in Unity, you should know what these are. But for those of you that are brand new, they are pretty much what they say. If you enter a trigger area, something's going to happen. If you exit a trigger area, something's going to happen. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do a private void on trigger enter 2D. And as soon as you hit enter, it's going to automatically fill the rest of this in collider 2D collision. You could keep that collision if you want. I personally learned to name this other. It makes a little bit more sense in my mind, but you can name it whatever it is that you want to name it. So we're going to do if other dot compare tag. So right there, compare tag, and then that tag is going to be player. And I don't think we've set up tags yet, so we're going to do that here shortly, but trust me on the process. So if the other that is entering this room is the player, then what we're going to do is we are going to set the room camera to be, it's set active to be true, meaning we're going to turn that camera on. And again, we're going to future-proof ourselves a little bit, but if show message, then we are going to show message logic. But we're not going to do that just yet. So that is all we need to do here, but we need an exit as well. So essentially it's going to be the exact same thing, but opposite, if that makes any sense. So we're going to do a private void on trigger exit 2D. Again, change this to other. And then if other dot compare tag player room camera. Why did that look weird there? Set active false. And that's all we should need to do for our room script for now. We are going to come back to this in later videos, but for right now, this is all we need to do. So what we're going to do now is we are going to hop back over to Unity, and we're going to go to our room 00, we're going to add the room script, and our room 01 and add the room script. Now let's go back to room 00. And this is what I mean, like, see how there's 3 lines of text here now? So I can type in whatever I want, and this will expand up to 10 times before it starts giving you the scroll bar. But we're not putting anything in there for right now. We will name this for now just room 0,0. This is our starting room, so we're going to make sure we check that. We could check show message if we want, but it's not going to do anything right now. And then the room camera, we want to drag that over here and make sure we have the 00 camera. And that's all we need to do to set up this. So let's go over to room 01. Again, let's just name it room 0,1. It is not the starting room, so we're not going to do anything there. And we're going to take the 01 camera and drop it in there. All right. So that's all we need to do as far as the script is concerned. Now, For the player, if we click on player up here where it says tag, you can add whatever tag you want to the player. Unity already has a few tags already made for you, but you can see down here it says add tag, and you can literally put in whatever you want. But conveniently, Unity already has a player tag for us. So we're going to click on that. And whatever you do in the script here, like whatever you put into these quotations, you have to make sure it's exactly the same in Unity. So for instance, if you put a lowercase p for player, this will not work because in Unity, that tag is an uppercase P. So in my older videos, I stress this a lot, and I've started doing it in some of my newer videos. Like, naming is extremely important. Capitalization is extremely important. Anything that you have in quotations, there's no spell check, there's no error message that's going to pop up if you do it wrong. So like if I put a lowercase p here and save it, like there's no error that is going to pop up. So you do have to make sure that you are doing things 1000% correct if you're putting quotations in to check like tags, or obviously if you're typing in a message, there's no spell check or anything like that. So be sure that you are doing everything correctly, or your stuff will not work, and it'll take you forever to realize why your stuff's not work. Take it from experience. I've had that happen more times than I can count. So yes, just please, please, please make sure that something like when you're comparing tag, that tag is spelled correctly and capitalized correctly. And if there's any type of punctuation or anything, make sure that is all correct. So with that little spiel out of the way, let's go back over to Unity. And it's got to compile everything again because I messed around with that. But that is all we should need to do. Now I want you to pay attention over here in the hierarchy. Notice how camera 01 is all white and it's turned on. And you can, if I click on it, you see the little check mark up here. That means it's on and active. If we did the code right and we hit play, that camera should deactivate. So the check mark goes away and you see it kind of grays out. So let's move our player around and let's head on up to that room we just created. And I forgot to do something. So notice how I can't, like you can kind of see the player's feet right there. So if you go to room 0.01, you'll notice that I forgot to make it a trigger. So make sure that that says is trigger. And now we hit play. And now we should be able to just walk right up into the room, and there we go. So you notice on the hierarchy, camera 00 is now off, and camera 01 is now on. And if we were to walk back down to this room, you'll notice that camera 00 is on and 01 is off. But that transition's a little slow. So in order to fix that, we're going to go to main camera. And down here where it says Cinemachine Brain, you're going to see default blend ease out, or ease in and out. So that's what the cameras are doing. They're kind of just easing in and out whenever one's turning on and the other's turning off. But you notice that says 2 seconds. We're going to switch that to 0.5. And now we're going to hit play. And now, whenever we enter that other room, it should be more of a quick little snap, and there we go. And then just to make sure it's working, we're going to go back down here, and there we go. So that is how we're going to transition from our rooms. Each room that we make is going to have its own camera. Each room is going to have its own bounds. And then eventually when we get to adding things like enemies or treasure chests or transitions into like houses, dungeons, shops, whatever, we want to make sure that we're putting all that stuff within each room of the hierarchy, so that way it's easy to find if we ever need to do anything, change anything, delete something, add something. So make sure you're doing that. But for now, that's all I'm going to do for this video. If you liked it and you learned something, make sure you give it the big old thumbs up. Again, please subscribe if you haven't done so already, as I have videos like this coming out all the time, and I don't want you to miss anything. Plus, it does help me out, so I do appreciate it, and I will never complain if you subscribe. So, with all of that, as always, thank you. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.